Hello my friends, welcome or welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Chelsea and today we are kicking off a reading vlog. We're reading only romantasy for the next week. This is because Romantasy-a-thon, a week-long reading challenge started by Tori at Tori Between Pages, starts today. So we are only reading romantasy for the next 8 days. I am taking a girls trip at the end of this week and that will be a separate vlog, but for the next several days I'm going to focus on these 3 books, I think. I mean, subject to change because we know me and I am kind of a mood reader. I do like to stick to a TBR, stick to a list, but I also like a little bit of flexibility within that. So we shall see if I deviate from this, but here's what we're looking at so far, I believe. We are starting off with Never Keep by the Twisted Sisters. This is set in the same world as Zodiac Academy, I believe, like the same universe, but not like connected to Zodiac Academy, I think. We shall see. And the second book is Born in Fire by K.F. Breen. This is a new series for me, not a new series in general, but it's the first book in a series that revolves around vampires, vampire hunters maybe, I'm not sure. This is an audiobook that I will be listening to throughout the week. I'm very excited to pick up this one. It's been on my list for quite a while and I'm excited to check it out. And then the third book is a little bit like up in the air. Am I going to read this one or something else? But I think I'm going to stick with Peaches and Honey. And I'm only choosing this one because it's a little bit shorter. And Never Keep is like 650 pages. So I feel like that's going to take the majority of this reading vlog. And Peaches and Honey sits about 350 pages, I think. So it's a little bit on the shorter side. And I'm really excited to read this one. It has been compared to Addie LaRue, which I absolutely love. So I'm ready for a dramatic, romantic, immortal love story. So I'm hoping that it will deliver on those vibes. So thank you for tuning in for today's reading vlog. I hope it's a good one. We shall see. But if you like reading vlogs, if you like reading content, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you as part of this little community of mine. But let's go ahead and jump into Never Keep, our first book of the vlog. Well, it is Monday, and I'm going to be honest with you, I have not done much reading. I think yesterday I read like maybe 20 pages. On Saturday, I started reading Never Keep by the Twisted Sisters, and last night I decided to put it down for now. I've gotten to the 100 page mark, and there's just something about it that's not gripping me. Like, I'm very confused. I don't even know who the 2 main characters are, and I'm 100 pages in. Like, we haven't even gotten to the school yet. I don't know what's going on, who's the love interest, what's happening here, like nothing is super clear. The world building, I think it does help to have read Zodiac Academy just to understand that the magic is based on your astrology sign, but overall like the magic is very complicated and not very well described, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know if I'm in the right headspace to read that right now. Like, I think I need something a little bit smaller, a little bit less complicated, a little bit easier to understand and read, just because I'm getting over a cold. I've been sick for like a week and my mind can just not process that right now. So I needed to put it down. So today I am going to start my audiobook, Born in Fire, as well as Peaches and Honey on my Kindle. I'm very excited for both of these. I have a bunch of laundry to fold. I'm currently making some garlic knots out of like my homemade pizza dough left over. So I'm like doing some things around the house, which would be nice to have an audiobook. So I'm going to start Born in Fire. I think this is going to be like a silly, goofy time, and that's what I'm here for. And then I think Peaches and Honey is going to be a really fast read for me. It's like 320 pages, I want to say, and I feel like it's going to be really romantic. I feel like the world building is not going to be difficult because I think it's set in like our world over centuries of time, and she is immortal, but like nothing else like magical really, I don't think. So I feel like it's going to be easier for me to comprehend. My mind is still very fuzzy. So I think I just need to be gentle on myself, take it easy. And those are my reading plans for the next couple of days. I'll let you know when I have some thoughts about either of those books and if I decide to pick up Never Keep again. All right, my my friends. It is Tuesday, and I do have some reading updates for you finally. I've made quite a bit of progress in the 2 books that I'm currently reading. I apologize. I believe I have a sinus and ear infection right now, so everything is ringing, everything feels fuzzy. I didn't do as much reading over the weekend. I think I said that as anticipated because I have not been feeling well, but I'm hoping to go to the doctor and get some medicine today, so I will be on the up and up for my girls' weekend this weekend, which will be wonderful. Anyways, I have read about 43% of Peaches and Honey on my Kindle, and I'm really enjoying this book. This book was comped to me as Addie LaRue, and I see the connection. Our main character is offered a piece of fruit at the very beginning of the book for being like a kind person, and she eats the fruit and she gets captured and burned at the stake, but she doesn't end up dying, and she realizes that she is now immortal because of the fruit that she ate, and it was given to her by a god who was in disguise, and he kind of helps her adjust over the centuries and like randomly will show up to check in on her, make sure she's okay. If she needs help, he like knows, I guess there's like a tether between them. He knows when she needs help, he knows when she's in need and will come to her. And he also goes to her like when he is in need, so she comforts him occasionally as well. This book starts out in like the late 1000s, I want to say, and I'm 43% into the book and we're currently at 1645. So we've already gone through like 6 centuries of time, and it's quite interesting because I think there are things that are mentioned or like touched upon like historically that she sees or she deals with, which is kind of interesting and cool for someone who enjoys history. Like, she obviously goes through the Black Plague. She is a nurse at the time, and kind of because she can't die, she is able to help patients through that. She ends up in England at one point, and she goes to the Globe Theatre, and it's like in Shakespeare's heyday, so she gets to see Ophelia on stage and just really cool things like that. Eventually, I think this next chapter, she ends up in America, which is the first time off the continent for her. I'm guessing from the little pieces that we've seen that our MMC is this god, and these two are going to have like a love. So we haven't gotten there yet, but you can definitely see that like they rely on each other. She obviously like leans on him because he's the only one who has known her for 6 centuries and like her only constant over all of the centuries of time. So it's very sweet. It's very heavy sometimes, just the loss of knowing that she has, I suppose. Like, there's no one who still knows her from when she was, you know, alive 6 centuries ago, and there's no one still there who has been through everything with her. It's just him, and I think that can be a very lonely life. Like, eventually she has to move because she doesn't age, and so she doesn't have like these lifelong relationships, these lifelong connections, and that has to be really hard and lonely. So he's her only constant, and if they're not in a good space, that can feel even more lonely. So I don't, it's really interesting. The writing is very good. It's, like I said, not very long. I think it's just over 300 pages. So I'm like breezing through this. I think I might finish it today. We'll see. I also have been listening to Born in Fire by K.F. Breene on audio, and it's the dramatized adaptation, which I don't always love because like the sound effects and stuff are kind of funny, and I think if you're listening to it at a higher speed than like 1 speed, it gets a little like dicey there. But I've bumped it up a little bit to 1.5 because I just think 1 is too slow for me. So I'm listening at 1.5 speed, so it's slower than I'm used to listening to, but I'm overall like really enjoying the story. We've got our main vampire hunter, and she's essentially like a bounty hunter. She gets a note for someone's capture or death, and she gets, you know, a prize money at the end of the capture, and she kind of lives like hunt to hunt, like paycheck to paycheck, because she has some lineage that is mysterious. Like, she knows who she is, she knows who her father is, and I think he's like kind of a rare magical being, but no one knows who she really is, and no one can like sense it on her. She's very rare. So she's got some magical abilities that she shouldn't have necessarily. She gets pulled into this mystery between some mages and the vampires, and the mages are like witches, and there seems to be some additional power that the mages are gathering that is affecting the vampires. It's not clear at this point kind of the consequence of what the mages are doing. And I don't want to say too much because there's some things that are being uncovered that I think are really interesting. So I am loving the like urban fantasy vibes, giving like Guild Hunter vibes, which is very fun. Our vampire is very old, and he's very like seductive and like the typical like ancient vampire that you would assume. And our bounty hunter is like, no. So I'm curious to see like how their dynamic continues through the rest of the book. I want to know who she is, what her background is, and kind of like how the story will continue to progress. Like, will it get bigger? Will more characters come into place? Like, kind of how all these pieces are going to connect, and like how the world will get bigger as the mystery kind of deepens, if that makes any sense. So I'm having a good time. It's not like amazing writing, and as I said, the audiobook is a little bit cringy sometimes with all the sound effects. Like, I think it's just something for me to get used to. So if you like dramatized adaptations, I would definitely check this out. I found it on my library Libby app, so maybe you have it as well, but I'm having a good time. It's really fun. I'll definitely finish this one in this video. One of the interesting things about this book, Peaches and Honey, is it very rarely explicitly states like the world event that's happening in the time that she's currently in. You can just kind of pick it up from like context clues essentially. And right now it jumped to Louisiana in 1855. Like I said, it's jumping like pretty quickly. But we're in 1855, and she's talking about some people coming to stay at her house, and then a man is taking them to run and escape elsewhere, and I believe that is their slaves. And she's helping these slaves escape slavery into freedom. And I just think it's really cool that her perspective of the world is small, but not focused solely on herself and her problems. Like, she understands the bigger scope of things because she's been around for centuries and understands like the world is pain and that it doesn't get better. Like, it hasn't been getting better. She always thought that there would be like hope further down the line in her life, but she's just realizing that it's still driven by like hate and greed and power, and she's seeing all of these world events happen, but on a smaller scale, if that makes sense. Like, her view of slavery is like helping these particular individuals escape to freedom. And we're getting that lens, like we're getting the lens of these world events like only through her eyes. So it feels like, I don't want to say a smaller scale, but we're getting like her particular experience with them, and they're not talked about on these like grand scales. It's talked about in a very particular like individual way, and the people that she's helping and the individuals that she interacts with. And I think that's really unique, and I don't know, it's just giving it some like perspective or some humanness, like a human connection to an event that happened centuries ago that we did not experience, but through her lens, like we can see it for like an individual experience, like a personal experience. And obviously this author did not live through all of these events, but like I appreciate the lens at which we're seeing some of these events. So I think it's really cool. I think this is a duology, so I'm guessing that the romance is going to come more in the second book because I'm at 60%, and there's been like a couple hints of like of our MMC, this god or like this immortal being has to like keep his distance. He has to protect himself from her because he can't fall for her for some reason. And she's very much like living her own life. Like he doesn't live with her, he doesn't come and stay for long periods of time. He just like kind of pops in and checks on her, and she really is alone. So she finds, you know, specific people to spend time with or get to know for this particular set of years before she moves on again. And he just like kind of pops up here and there. She calls him Kieran. He has chosen this name for her to call him, and her original name is Anna, but in every place she goes, she tends to change her name based on like the history, the time that she's living in, and kind of like the general location, so she fits in a little bit better, but her original name is Anna. And I just love that like she's changing enough to adapt, but I love that he like checks on her not when he knows that she needs him, but just to make sure that she's okay. Like sometimes he'll check in on her and she doesn't even know that he's there because he can kind of appear in any form. And so he checks in on her just to make sure she's okay. And I just think that's so cute. And I'm hoping we'll get like a little bit more of the romance in the last half of this book. But as I said, I'm assuming that that's going to come more in the second book in this duology. Do we feel like Anna ever gets tired of working in this book? Because she's been alive for like 800 years, and it's not like she has magic. She can't like travel quickly from one place to another, and you know, for most of her life, travel is long, it's dangerous, it's arduous. And I just wonder, like, does she get tired of doing laundry? Does she get tired of cleaning? Like all of her jobs are like nursing or taking care of others or being like a governess or something like that. Like I just feel like I would get really tired and be kind of bitter that someone gave me this life without even asking if I wanted to live forever. I don't know. I find that to be very interesting. I'm 67% in. She just made a comment that I thought was really interesting, kind of along the lines I was sharing earlier of like, her view of the world is very small and it's very like local, and Kieran's view of the world is very large because he does have magic. Like he can go from one place to another rather quickly. Like he can basically teleport. So he gets to travel and see all of these different places and understand the world in a different way that she cannot, because information doesn't travel that quickly and she doesn't trust the sources where she gets the information in these days. And so there's just a lot of things that she doesn't understand, that she doesn't know. So her worldview is very small. Even though she's heard a lot, she has a very like small local perspective about world current events in her time, which I think is just a really interesting take on like how we view her story and her life, as opposed to Kieran's, who is much more like worldly and large, like on a larger scale than Anna's. So I don't know, you get these little glimpses that he really cares for her, but like doesn't feel like he can, or maybe he can't, and we don't know like the rules of his magic or like where his power comes from. So maybe he really can't have feelings for her, but he does, and he has to kind of hold them back. And I'm just, at what point does it break? Or is he like, I no longer care about holding this back. Like I want her, and this is something that I'm willing to give up. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, my friends, this is the last day of this reading vlog, and I do have some updates for you because I have in fact finished 2 books, which makes me so happy. Last night I finished Peaches and Honey by R. Rada. This was for the weapon category on Romantasy-a-thon, and I had chosen a new to you author. I've never read this author before, but I immediately downloaded book 2 in the duology because the book doesn't end on a cliffhanger per se, But it does end in a space that like opens up an entire new chapter for our main characters and the main conflict of the duology as a whole. And I definitely want to see like where that goes and what happens in the span of time we have left. Currently, we're at like 1955, I want to say. So there's not much time in history left, and I'm curious to see if it's going to go like into the future or if we're going to stay like within the next 70 years or what have you. My biggest complaint in this book is that this book is not long enough. Like, it sits at about 320 pages, and I just felt like I could have read like 600 more pages about these characters and them living forever. And I really I wanted more detail. I wanted like to soak up these moments of history and these moments in time with our main characters. And I understand that that's not the point of this story, right? The point is a love story. It is to get a sense of like our FMC's perspective of the world at different points in time. But I just wanted so much more, and not in a bad way. Like, I think this book is very well done. I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I just wish that it was longer, because I could have spent so much more time with these characters. And I guess I get that in book 2, but I wanted like more time within these moments of history. I thought it was so interesting. Like, she helps Jews escape from Germany, and she's helping slaves escape from the South, and she's like helping patients during the Black Plague, and she's helping soldiers during the Civil War. And I'm like, there's all these huge moments in time that she's a part of, and it's such a small lens for her. Like, she's only dealing with like her small little local area, but what a difference in history for those people she makes. And I think I wanted more. So overall, like, I'm super happy with this book, and I can't wait to pick up book 2 because I think it'll be really interesting moving forward. But this is a 4-star for me. I'm really happy that I read it. And as I said, for Romantasy-a-thon, this is for the weapon category, and this is a new to me author. And Tori did post what my weapon is based on the prompt that I picked, and I got an enchanted ring that allows me to disappear or grants invisibility. So I actually think this is kind of the perfect weapon for this book, which is really exciting. So this is my weapon that I will be bringing to the Starfall Ball. And my second book that I finished this morning is Born in Fire by K.F. Breene. This was for the background category, and it is a book with a vampire, so I will be going to the ball as a vampire, which, no surprise here, I'm super stoked about. And this is kind of like the vibes we're going for. I thought this book was such a silly, goofy time, and I love that we got to learn the secret about our main character, who her father was. And I will say, this book, our FMC is not a vampire, but the MMC is a vampire, and that's what I'm using for this category. I hope that's okay. I'm bending the rules a little bit, I think. I don't know. It's not super clear. But our MMC is a vampire, and she does not trust him at all. But at the end of the book, he has like proven his worth, and he is true to his word, and I definitely feel like he's going to show up again in the next book. I immediately downloaded book 2 on audio because I just had a great time. It's not like all-star writing for me, and as I said, the dramatized audio is not like, I'm not obsessed with it, but I actually got used to it after a while. I had a really good time with this. If you like urban paranormal fantasy with a dash of murder mystery, I would definitely recommend to check this out because it was a really fun time. So I'll be picking up book 2 at some point in the future, but I'm really happy to be done with 2 of my main prompts, and I also listened to an audiobook, so I got a bonus prompt there as well, which is exceptional for me. I am currently reading Neverkeep again. I picked it back up. I'm 30% in, and I'm not going to finish this book in this vlog. I'll give you an update when I wrap this vlog up, but I'd love to get to like 50% and then read the rest on my weekend trip this weekend. So those are my current plans for tonight. I'm liking it more than I was when I decided to put it down. We did make it to part 2, which I think I'm enjoying more than part 1. Part 1, literally, you open the book and you're thrown into this battle scene, and it's a lot, and I felt very overwhelmed when I first picked it up, and part of it could have been my sinus infection and I just like cannot think very clearly, but I was like very confused about the world and what was going on, and there are two POVs and I wasn't sure like how they matched up, and you really don't know at all, but I'm assuming that we're getting two different female POVs and then love interests will come in at some point. And I think I know one of them, maybe two of them. Who knows how many there are, but I think I know at least two of our love interests in this book. And part 2 is 1 year later, in which our main characters and everyone of the age of 21 is sent to Neverkeep, which is a academy for young people to be tested in their magic and then to hone their magic and learn more about it. So I think this is the part where I'm really going to enjoy it because I love a school setting and I believe that the enemies to lovers is very good. My friend said like all of the characters are very ruthless and I'm kind of into that. So hopefully I end up really liking this one, but I'm just starting the part where we're actually in Neverkeep. So I'll keep you posted on like how I'm feeling about the school setting and if there's any like different feelings I have about this book. Okay, we are going to quickly wrap up this reading vlog because it's Thursday. I am packed, I'm ready to go on my trip, and I need to upload this video before I leave. So quick thoughts about Neverkeep. I got to about 45% last night, so not quite 50, but I am having such a good time, and I'm surprised because I was not enjoying the first part of this book, but when we get to Neverkeep, we're getting so much more of our characters, and the world is obviously still building. We're still getting to know like how each person uses their magic and kind of how the magic works in this world. But I feel like because we're at a school, we're kind of all learning together because the characters have just received their magic and know how much power they have. So they're also learning like how to use their magic. And they are also new to this school. So like what's new to us is also new to them, which I appreciate because it's just giving me a little bit of peace as far as like the world building and the confusion I felt when I started this book. So I am really enjoying it. It's reading much faster than it was at the beginning, which I appreciate. And I am enjoying our two POVs. I like one POV better than the other for sure. One girl, Everest, she's a little, I kind of want to say annoying. That sounds mean. I'm not loving her voice as much as I'm loving Vesper's voice. So Vesper is incredibly ruthless. She has to be because I don't want to go into all of it because I don't want to spoil anything, but she has a reason of why she has to be so ruthless, and her friends are incredibly ruthless as well. And it's just like giving this fun vibe to the book that feels like an oxymoron, but it is giving like a fun vibe to this book, like an energy that I really want in this book. So I'm enjoying that a lot. I'm going to finish this book in my next vlog, so stay tuned for my final thoughts on Neverkeep in my next reading vlog. But thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a wonderful day, and go ahead and click subscribe if you have not already. I would love to have you a part of this little community of mine, and I hope to catch you in the next one soon. Bye!